Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Mommies and Money. I'm Kimberly Solfridge with the Kids Money Project, and I'm here with Paula Weiss of CNS Insurance. Hello, Paula. How are you doing today?
I am doing wonderful. It's a little chilly, but got a nice background thinking about the water and the ocean and fishing and staying warm. But yeah, great to be here.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because, it's like 30 degrees outside right
Yes,
now.
and yes.
You don't look like you're 30 degrees right now.
No, it's all mind over matter.
That's right. Absolutely. Maybe I need to check into getting me a little background or something that's in the
Yeah,
Hawaii or something nice and warm because
yeah, we could have competing backgrounds. That'd be
well,
fun.
anything warm right now, this Texas girl
Yes,
is not used to this.
yes.
Well, and we're what, heading into the single digits?
I know. Yes,
I don't even know what that wind chill factor is at that point.
the dogs won't even want to go outside. So
Yes.
then you'll know.
I have one that she's got a pretty good fur coat, so she's kind of
Mhm.
enjoying it right now, but yeah, she's about to experience something she's never experienced before, so it should be a little
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, she'll let you know, Mom.
Yes. Well, and I've got my hot cocoa. I don't drink coffee, so I stay warm that way.
I'm hanging on to my tea
There
with a
you
straw.
go.
So we are prepared. And
That's
what is
right.
our topic for today?
Well, we're kind of taking a generational spotlight today and kind of
Mhm.
talking about some millennials here. And I
Ooh.
don't worry, we're not going to be bashing anybody. I know
No,
the
no,
millennials
we
are
won't.
worried about it.
No. Yeah.
But no, in some of our research, we found, or we kind of stumbled across a rather interesting statistic. And well, I'll just go ahead and kind of put the statistic out there, and
Okay.
then we can kind of discuss it a little bit more. But we found that millennials, before they're married, so before they're married and actually making those life decisions and everything, they say that 88% of them say that they would participate in the major financial decisions of
Right.
the household, or even take the lead in those financial decisions.
Yes.
And then 67% believe that women actually rely too heavily on their spouse to make these financial decisions.
And the big story is this is prior to them
Yes.
saying, I do.
Yes. So
Okay.
88%, 67%, pretty high numbers, and
Hmm. The
everything sounds
highest.
great. Sounds like we're heading in the right direction. But it appears that after they get married, 54% actually defer the financial decisions to their spouse.
Yes.
So coming right back to where we pretty much are across the other generations. So,
Hmm.
and we're not real sure why there's such a, it seems like they know that they should be taking a
Right.
more of a interest and more of a role in that decision process. Certainly before they say they are, but something happens in that interim, in that middle,
Hmm.
and it tends to kind of fall back to where it
Quickly.
seems like it's been. So
Yeah. And
the
it
big
happens
question is
quickly.
why.
Yeah, and it's being that a lot of the millennials are waiting to get married. So they've had an opportunity to establish themselves financially. And this is assumptions that we're making from the information we have read and the articles and as we've gone through. So we're assuming they were coming in somewhat empowered that they have made proper decisions. But apparently just to say, it's okay, honey, whatever you say just kind of doesn't fit right, but we're going to explore why a little bit and make some suggestions.
Right. Well, we also found, in kind of looking at what millennials are doing, Paula touched on the fact that they're generally waiting a little bit longer to get married,
Mhm.
but they're also, when they're married, how they handle their finances when they're married is a little different.
Right.
Actually, 28% uh, actually keep their finances separate.
Mhm.
And now it did not break down whether that was completely separate or whether it was kind of a combination. It
Yeah.
mostly just talked about that they kept an own bank account of theirs. So
Right.
in other words, he had his own bank account, she had her own bank account. Um, it, like I said, it didn't go into was there
Right.
joint bank accounts and things like that. But so it does talk about that is actually double what the Generation X does. So we're generation X is probably somewhere around 14, 15%
Mhm.
that have a separate bank account,
Right.
whereas the millennials jump all the way up to 28%.
And we're guessing because we don't know. There is no statistics as to whether or not it's because they are not committed and they believe that life will be a secular motion and they won't necessarily be married for 20 or 30 years, and retirement's not something they're planning to do with their spouse, and they brought it in and want to leave with it, but we're not quite sure. We'd love to get some feedback if any of you guys know some millennials out there, to see if it's true with your group of ladies that have made this decision. Because the big question we have is, okay, what's that money in the middle? What is that account that you're sharing jointly? And are you doing your investments together?
Well, and the other thing is, we'd like to know what caused that change from before marriage to after marriage.
Yes.
Now, we've kind of based off of a lot of the research that we've done, and basically what we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks on why women defer money or defer the money decisions to their spouses. We're kind of taking a stance of maybe thinking that that may have part of it. We're thinking maybe kids get into the mix, life gets busy, and all of a sudden you just kind of pass it on. We're not real sure. And so we're curious. We'd love to hear from the millennials to actually know
Mhm.
what it is, and why some of that is being deferred off when they go into the marriage one way, and then a year or so
Right.
in, all of a sudden it changes. So sorry, my eye is itching for some reason.
Oh. Hmm.
But we'd like to know. I mean, we'd like to hear that point of view and just kind of understand. And again, we're making some assumptions here that a lot of them, like what we've talked about for the last couple of weeks, that a lot defer because they feel like their husbands know more or they
Right.
understand money more and things like that. And I think we've probably beaten a dead horse here with
Yeah.
why why that's not a good idea to defer
Right.
and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So today we wanted to actually take some time and go into, we've been telling you, you don't have to know everything. You just need to have a good base knowledge of what this is. And there are professionals out there to help with some of the more skilled type sets like investing and things like that. And even like estate planning and stuff
Right.
like that.
And insurances, that's part of the, you can get an idea, and I think this is where we want to start, as to where you start all by yourself, your pen and paper. And what's that first line you're going to put down when you say, okay, it's time for me to get ready? So what do we decide?
Yeah, so basically, you just need to get a grip on your financial situation. So, like she said, grab that pen and paper, sit down at the table, grab your financial statements, everything you have that has to do with your finances. Not a bad time to do it because right now you're getting all your tax statements and stuff.
Right.
So, a lot of that stuff's already sitting out.
Hmm.
But know where you are, know what your debt is, know what your college and student loans are, what your liabilities are, what your assets are. You want a whole financial picture. You want to know what your net worth actually is.
Hmm.
And
It
then
might
once you have,
surprise you.
yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Most people could not actually tell you what their net worth is.
Correct.
And that
Hmm.
should be something that you know. And then after you've done that, it's time to actually
Set
figure
your
out those
goals.
financial goals. Absolutely. You need to know what you want. If you don't know what that is, if you haven't set a clear picture, and again, you want to write this down. I mean,
Yes.
it's one thing for it to be in your head and I want this and I want that, but those are just kind of dreams at that point.
Yep.
You want to set it down on paper, put it in writing. That doesn't mean they can't change. Things like that change all the time,
It's
but
a
you
living document, Kimberly. It's a living document.
right. Well, you need to know what your goals are so you know what you're trying to aim for, what you're
Right.
trying to do.
And you're going to have three columns: short term, or now, medium, and long range. And don't be afraid to put them all down so you have an idea of what you need to reach for. It can be, living in wherever or buying a yacht, whatever those plans are, but put it down so you can look at it and say, wow, that really, I can do this. I can make it happen. And if it's not down there, there's no accountability for yourself.
Right. And now that you know what you want, it's time to actually put it down
Go.
and make a plan. It's time to budget. Yes, the B word,
Oh
budget.
gosh, yeah, that hurts too. Oh my gosh.
Well, and
It's tough.
people think of it as a bad word, but it's really not because there was a great quote, and I should have gotten it before we started. But it was talking about, a budget is not limiting you to what you want, but it's in fact telling you what you can do and when you can do it.
Mhm.
And so it's a matter of making a plan for all of this.
Right,
Anything is attainable. You just have to plan it out and how to do it.
right.
Otherwise, that's when you get yourself in trouble when you just start doing stuff.
Mhm.
So,
Absolutely. And this
right.
and this is my favorite. Pay yourself first.
Yes.
If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else.
Yeah, and
So,
pay yourself first just means it's talking about your savings.
yes.
A
Oh,
lot of people I
yes.
think say that, and I think people may actually, I don't even know what that means. What do you mean pay myself first?
Yes.
That means you're putting away for your savings, for your retirement. That's putting away for you.
Right.
So when your bills come rolling in, most people will sit down and they pay the electric bill and the water bill and the gas bill and the mortgage or their rent, and they start paying out all these
Mhm.
bills. And then what's left over, then they put aside if there is anything left over. Sometimes there's not.
Right.
And so what we're suggesting is, one, once you have all that, you put that money aside. You're putting that savings aside first, whatever
Right.
that percentage is. The average or kind of what they suggest is about 15%,
Mhm.
depending on your situation and where you are and how old you are and maybe
Right.
how much savings you already have. May dictate you may need to bump that up a little bit
Right.
if you're maybe a little behind on what you should be doing, or if you're right on target, take that
Right.
15% and put it over. Make it automatic. Just make
Yep.
that a put it on autopilot, as they would
Mhm.
say. Just
Yeah.
put it over. It's an automatic. As soon as it hits your account, it gets
Take it
shoved
out.
over.
Mhm.
And that way you don't have to worry about spending it. It's not there for you to spend.
That is investing in yourself. And that's
Yes.
the perfect way to start.
Hmm.
And then this is really tough, guys. How about spending less than what you make? That hurts, but realistically, you don't have to spend all the money you have. You need to make sure where it goes and that you have money, um, and that you're not in debt, that you're not spending more than what you're bringing in. It's not about what you make, it's how you spend it.
Well, you need to make sure you have that emergency fund too for those
Always.
those times that pop up where maybe you get laid off for a month. I mean, here we are in Corona,
Hmm.
and people got laid off. I think there's people still laid off that
Yeah.
they're I don't know if there's even an end in sight for them yet. And so I I think the used to people said 6 months. I know a lot of the experts that kind of talk about this are definitely increasing that emergency fund up to 8 months,
Hmm.
and even some are saying 12. So
A year. Yeah.
you need to do what you're comfortable with. And after this, I would say increasing that how much you have in there is definitely a good idea, because we didn't see this coming. And while hopefully we're getting towards the end of that, who knows what's just around the corner.
Right.
A year from now or a year ago, we wouldn't have said this could have happened. So
No, we were in a great economy. So
right,
you just need to, you don't know what you don't know. Excuse me. So always be prepared.
right. And then you always want to make sure you take your
Excuse me.
free money. So those with 401ks, uh, your businesses will generally match to a certain point. Make sure you're maxing out that match. Different companies will match up to a certain point.
Mhm.
Make sure you ask, talk to your HR department. What is the match?
Mhm.
Where would that max out? And make sure you're taking that max. You can obviously put more in if you would like, but
Mhm.
make sure you are at the very least taking that full match from your company. That's just free money at this point.
Absolutely. Take advantage of it and it's there. And invest in your 401k. It is a great place to do. It doesn't, it's pre-tax money. It
Mhm.
is your retirement. It's there for you to take advantage of, because things could be changing in the future. So while it's here and we know what's going on, make it happen for yourself.
Mhm.
It's really there.
Well, and we kind of touched on this before, and kind of living within your means and everything, but certain purchases for sure. So cars, houses, these big purchases, know
Yes.
what you're comfortable with and what fits in your financial goals and your budget. Don't depend on what the bank tells you can afford. The bank
Okay,
is
yeah.
going to base it off of what they know, which is certainly not everything in your financial situation. They
Mhm.
don't know, they know what's on your credit report because they've pulled
Correct.
that. But past that, they don't know if you owe Uncle Bob money. They don't know if you owe your parents money. They don't know any of those extra things.
Mhm.
They don't know how secure your job is. They don't know
And they don't
everything.
care, and they don't care. They really don't. I remember in one of my former lives, I've had a few, I sold real estate back east. And these people who bought these huge homes, back then, 3, 4,000 square foot homes, but there was not a stitch of furniture there, but they needed the address and they needed the, fancy car in the driveway, but they didn't have the money to afford the furniture but they needed that lifestyle and they needed to be there. You don't need to do that. Have it in the bank, invest in yourself, make sure you've got money and not in your bricks.
Yeah, there's no need to keep up with the Joneses or anything like that. You
No,
don't know how broke the Joneses are.
that's
They
true.
may be bankrupt or right on the verge of it.
Yeah,
You don't know.
that's right. One
So,
step.
most of these things that we just talked about right here are things that you can actually do yourself. There might be, you may want to talk to your HR about, how much your match can be on your 401k. But if this is something that you're not comfortable feeling like you can do yourself, then it might be time to actually reach out to maybe a financial coach or somebody like that. Reach out to us. We can kind of help you through some of that to at least give you an idea or a plan on how to,
Okay.
what you need to grab and things like that. But most of this is something that you can do on your own. We have two more that are good areas to hit, but probably need to actually have you talk to somebody that's a little more skilled in the area. So, number 6 is protect yourself. So, we're
Correct.
talking things about life insurance, especially like if you have kids and stuff like that. You want to make sure that all of that is taken care of if, God forbid, the worst should happen.
Right.
So, life insurance, you want to make sure you have the estate plan for, uh,
Right.
you want to make sure you have your directives, your document, all these
Oh,
things.
you're taking all my fun away.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And make sure you long-term care. And if you're in the sandwich generation where you've got your kids in school and mom not doing well and potentially coming to live with you. So these are all conversations you need to have. Make sure you know if you leave your job, if your insurance is transferable, what happens with those circumstances, if you're retiring, what that looks like. So you need to have a conversation. And again, there's not a question that is stupid. Please don't ever think that. Don't allow anybody to make you feel that you shouldn't ask any question you want to ask in reference to these subjects. It's too
Oh,
important.
absolutely.
And get your directives and your will done because your legacy can be ruined if you don't have your correct documents in place.
Mhm.
And the Travis County website is, they have a probate site. Just take a gander. It should scare you if you don't have your documents ready.
Mm,
He's made it really clear, guys.
right. And then the last one is don't let all of this, and particularly things like investing and stuff like that, intimidate you. Again, that's where you have your financial professionals that are involved, your financial advisors, your certified financial planners. Those are the people that understand that process. They've gone to school for it. They've learned, they've taken tests. They're skilled in being able to help you take what you have and make that work in a plan that works for your lifestyle and what your goals are. That's not something you have to try to figure out for yourself.
Mhm. But you have to have your goals or at least an idea of where you want to go so they can help you reach them because and sometimes it's you just need to have a conversation and
Right.
ask questions and if you don't know it's okay and if they're good at what they do um, they'll prompt you and help you understand what you didn't ask for or what you didn't even know needed to have an explanation of why you do things. So it's a good time. This is a perfect time of the year. All your tax papers are there. If you happen to have financial plans, a planner right now, look at what you're doing, see what's happening, have a review. You go ahead and you have no problem doing a second opinion on a doctor and everything else. Just take a peek.
Mhm. Well, and it's time to make these decisions. I mean, you put them off long enough, And I'll let Paula had a great line earlier when we were talking that I thought
Yeah.
was fantastic. So I won't steal it from her because I love it so much. But go
Yes.
ahead, Paula.
I really, indecision is decision in itself.
Yes.
So if you don't do anything, you've already decided to do nothing.
Hmm.
And is that where you want to be?
Yeah, and you're going to have to suffer the consequences at that point.
Absolutely. So
And that's
keep that
not a
in
place.
mind when you push it to the side.
Yes, and it's not a place you want to be. You don't want somebody else making these decisions for you. So,
Yeah.
well, we have given you quite a little checklist again for things that if you haven't done these things, and
Yes.
chances are you've probably done some of them,
Mhm.
but maybe you haven't done all of them, or maybe you haven't completed all of them. You have ideas, but maybe they're in your head of what your financial goals are. Like I said, get those down on paper. It's time to really focus on what that is. And if you have kids, you want to make sure that you're set and that they know what's going on. Now, I'm not talking about tell your little kids all your financial things, but you want to make sure that one, if you have older kids, then yes, make sure that they know where certain things are, just make life
Mhm.
easier in that
For,
time.
for
But
everybody.
younger kids, you want to make sure that they are taken care of if something should happen to you unexpected. So
And I should have mentioned, mommies, if you work, even if you don't work, make sure you have a life insurance on you, because God forbid something happens to you to replace you, even
mhm,
when you're a stay-at-home mom, can break the bank.
yes,
Don't think you're not valuable. And and
absolutely.
and you need to make sure that's part of your plan to make
I think
sure.
people tend to forget that sometimes.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story about my dad. Yeah. So
Mm.
another time, but yeah. Well, back then it wasn't, women weren't perceived as having a value in the home when my mom died in 61.
Right,
And his life, our lives would have been entirely different had there been life insurance for my mom.
right.
So just keep that in mind. It's
Hmm.
it's something to have. So again, indecision is decision in itself.
Yes.
And
So if, like I said, if you haven't done this, sit down, take our little checklist, grab those documents, and just start making that plan. If you have issues or you're having problems figuring it out, you can reach out to one of us.
mhm,
This is probably a little bit more Paula's area than
yep,
mine. Like I said, I'm more about making sure one that you're understanding your financial situation, but I want to make sure your kids understand
right.
how to do this for themselves. And so that's where I kind of come in a little bit.
And you can reach me here or talk money with Paula. Um, and I would be happy to respond to any comments you make on my site. But look at this um, podcast here. If there's anybody that you know could learn from this, or there would be something, a benefit for them to hear, that you're not telling them to do it, but a stranger is saying, this would be a good time to look at what you're going on, what are your plans, and share it with them. And we'd love to, help them too.
Mhm.
So thank you for your time this afternoon.
Yes.
Stay warm.
Yes.
Yes.
Everyone have a great day, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye, guys.